Maseches Bava Kama Ein Amud Aleph in the bottom of the page, the first wide line. Ein Amud Aleph, bottom of the page. Omar Rav Ashi. Rav Ashi says as follows. Yeah, Rav Ashi says like this. We said yesterday that if we seem to be paskening, and that's halacha l'maisa, with the way the wind blows in the sugya, is halacha seems to be more like Rav. Rav says that if a person was moide b'knas, he admitted that a knas, an offense that would require knas, took place. For example, stole, so he has to pay kefil, and he admitted I stole, or he said arba v'chamisha, so he has to pay the 4 and 5 because he slaughtered or he sold over. But then says Rav, we all know that moide b'knas potu. Yeah, person's moide b'knas is exempt, is potu, and if the person was moide b'knas, later on eidim came and they testified and they said that really he did it. So now the eidim are the source of information and not just the person himself. Says Rav, nevertheless, is still potu. Still potu. He's still exempt, he's still potu from paying, he doesn't have to pay because Lamaisa, the Hoido, was his Hoido. It was his admittance, his confession that brought it to our attention, so he doesn't have to pay. Okay? However, he still has to pay the Karen. Very good, absolutely. Thank you, Yitzchok, for the correction. He has to pay the Karen, of course, but he does not pay the kefil. That was the beginning. And Shmuel argued with that. Shmuel argued on that. We may explain Shmuel's opinion later on if we have time today. But the main thing is now came Rav Himnuna and also Rabbi Yochanan, and they said something else. They added on top of that, and they made a big qualification, they really minimized what Rav was saying. They basically said like this: that's all very nice and hunky-dory in case that the hoido is a type of hoido that makes him pay the Karen. Thank you, Yitzchak. In other words, if he came and he said, I stole, and therefore his hoido makes him pay something, the capital, the Karen, and just becomes potter from kefel, that's called a real hoido, that even if the eidim come later on, we still listen to him, and we say that really he doesn't have to pay, even though the eidim came. But if his hoido was only hoido that is not mechayiv him anything, if the hoido was a hoido that doesn't really make him pay anything at all, the hoido does not mechayiv him anything, the hoido just means he will be potu. For example, a person that we know he stole already, we know that a person stole because eidim came. And then he came and he confessed and he said, I really slaughtered it. So your confession is very nice and moving, but Lamaisa, all you're telling us is that you're potter, because Moed B'Knas potter, not mechayiv yourself anything by this oido, by this confession. And therefore, in this case, although usually it'd be potter, but if eidim come later, then you'd have to pay, even according to us. That is what we said yesterday towards the end of the shiur, and that's going to be the topic today. Now, we're not saying that oido, just one thing to make it clear, because I'm scared people will get confused there. I'm telling you now that a oido that doesn't make the person pay anything is a oido. If a person came and he said, I poked my Eved's eye, and therefore there's a knas that the Eved goes free, he goes free. Elamai, in case eidim come later, then the Eved will have to go back to the original owner, even according to us. Why? Because really those eidim, the oido is a good oido, but it's not stronger than the eidim. That's the idea. We'll continue, and the same concept is going to appear again and again in different shapes and forms. So anyway, hopefully you'll get it better later. Amar Avashi, time to start. Amar Avashi, Be'ezras Hashem, Masnisin u'braise, nami daika. Our Mishnah and a separate braisa are also meduyak, are also seem to be saying the same message. Sorry. Meduyak to be, like we just said, like the statement of Rav Yochanan, that moide b'knas that does not obligate him, and then the eidim came, the eidim win over, and you'd have to pay. If it doesn't, if the oido didn't obligate him to do anything. Masnisin, let's look at our Mishnah. What did our Mishnah say? Our own Mishnah, our very own Mishnah, which we read 2 days ago, it says in the Mishnah, let's read it nice and slow. Ganav al Pishnaim. A person stole al Pishnaim. What does it mean al Pishnaim? Based on the testimony of 2 eidim. 2 eidim came and they said he stole. That's it. There's no eidah, nothing. The eidim came, so we all know that he's a ganav and he has to pay double, no question. Then he slaughtered or sold over. He did the worst part of the story. He got more entrenched into the chait al pi eid echad or al pi atzmoi. Either by eid echad, meaning, either one aid came and said that he shechted, or he himself said that he shechted. So that's hoido. Eid echad doesn't make you pay anything. Al pi atzmoi, nothing, because it's moide beknas. So what's the alohe? B'shalem teshlume kefel. Why does he have to pay kefel? Because the first part was eidim. He can't run away from eidim. That's like the Italian mafia. So eidim are eidim. Teshlume kefel. Ve'ena b'shalem teshlume Bava Kama. But Bava Kama, he doesn't pay. Why doesn't he pay? Well, there were 2 options. Either eid echad. Eid echad doesn't make people pay. Or Bava Kama is because of his own confession. No. By his own confession, his own hoidah, moide biknas potu. That's always the case. I mean, almost always. Now, frag the Gemara the following question: Lamali detani ganav al pishnaim. Why do you have to say? Why do you have to start the story that he stole based on the edus of 2 people? Why? In other words, it's with the whole chiddush of the Mishnah is about the second part of the story, the 4 and 5. He doesn't have to pay because it's his own eidah. It doesn't have to pay because it's one aid. Why did you have to portray the first chapter of the story that the Geneva originally was based on 2 people? By the way, we're at the end of the page, Ein Amud Aleph. Litni, why can't the Mishnah say, I'm suggesting the Mishnah should say, Litni, let the Mishnah say, Gona v'tovach umocha, al pi edechad, al pi atzmoi. Just tell me the whole story in a more homogenic way, more unanimous way, consistent. Gonav, tovach, the whole thing, mocha, al pi edechad, al pi atzmoi, en mashalem, ela keren. Tell me the entire story from A to Z, or from A to Z. Tell me the whole story, that everything from the Geneva all the way down to the Tzvicha Mechira was all upon one aid, only one testimony. Oh, al pi atzmoi, by the person confessing, and still, en mashalem, ela keren, it still would be true, right? I mean, yeah, he wouldn't pay the 4 and 5, and he wouldn't pay the double either. He would only pay keren. Why did the Dafka portray such a funny case? At the beginning, we knew that he stole by the 2 eidim, and then a later story was that he confessed on the shchita, so he doesn't pay 4 and 5. Why? Why Dafka doing this mismatch of the beginning is one part of his story, 2 eidim, and we know that he stole by 2 eidim, and then the 4 5 is upon himself. Why? Ella must be, there's a hidden message over here. Ein umid baiz. Ella lav, ha must be, ha KML kamash malan. It's coming to tell me the following. Gonav al pishnaim, only if he stole upon 2 people, that we know that he stole, v'tovach al pi echod oy al pi atzmoi, right? And then only the tvicha, the second part, was a non-starter, it was just one aid, or his own confession. Then we say, Deloy, we have to erase the word who by the Bach. Deloy mechayev atzmoi bekeren. There's a big difference. Let's pause for a second. That's the whole vort. When the person said, I stole, and I shechted, and I, upon his own hoidah, he's mechayev himself, Keren. He said, I stole. We didn't know that he stole. When he says, I stole, so that means he has to pay the original capital basic money. And when, I'm not reading inside the Gemara now, I'm just pointing out the difference. The story of our Mishnah is not the story. The story of a Mishnah is telling me that we knew already he's a Ganav because of eidim. When he comes to basing crying and telling us that he shechted, then he shechted. He's not mechayiv himself anything by his eidah. His eidah only gets him to be scot-free. So what? I'm reading again. I'm reading again from Hokamash Malan. Now you'll get it better. I'm reading from the top of the page again. I'm repeating now from the top of the page. Hakamash Malan. גונב על פי שניים, וטובח על פי עד אחד, או על פי עצמוי, דלא מחייב עצמוי בקרן. He did not obligate himself. He did not incriminate himself at all. Because we knew already that he stole. Two eidim told us, we don't need you to tell us. We know it already. We know you're gonna. Your confession is a confession that's only telling us that you have to pay 4 and 5 or 2, 3 extra, and you're not mechayiv yourself anything because you're potter completely. Your hoidah makes you pay 0. And in that case, hudam rinan, in that case, we say, and now we have to join something we said yesterday. We're going to test your memory now. Remember what we said yesterday? Why did the Mishnah juxtapose together eid echad and confession? What's the connection? We said, and we're repeating it now. Ma al pi eid echad ki osi eid echad mitztaref ba'dei michayev. Remember, we said eid echad is unique because eid echad is not such a nothing like we knew, like we always thought. We always know eid echad except for 3 applications. I say the echad can testify in Beis Din. Says the Gemara, if the eid echad comes today on Thursday and tomorrow on Friday another eid would come, then the person would be chayev. 1 eid is half of a whole. Yeah, 1, 2. Another eid can come tomorrow, and yes, parrots, 2 eidim can come in separate days. Yes, yes, yes. So just like eid echad can come tomorrow, and it's not a closed case yet. If 1 eid comes today, it says he shechted. We say, okay, we keep it in the records in the computer, and if an eid would come tomorrow, we will sort of reopen the case and say, 1 and 1 are saying that he shechted, and then things will change, and we'll have to pay 4 and 5. Al pi atzmai nami, when the person himself also confessed, it's still not a closed case. When he came and said, I shechted, and I said, I know that I owe the 4 and 5, and therefore I want to get off the hook. It's also not a closed case. Why? She also eidim michayev. When eidim will come tomorrow, if eidim, 2 real eidim will come tomorrow, and they will say that you shechted, you chayev to pay. Whoa, how come is that true? Didn't Rav say that if the person confessed and then eidim say became his potter? Yes, but that's only in the case of what? That's only in the case where the confession is the mechayev. If his original confession was mechayevim, and by his own confession he said, I really stole and now I have to pay a keren, something mechayev came from his confession, something that's to his detriment, then we say, that's such a good idea. He's really willing to really be a man and come up with it, come clean. Then we say, even eidim come later, then he's potter. But here, if his confession didn't make him chayev at all, then even if eidim would come later, he would be chayev, even according to Rav. Aval, however, I already told you that. Aval, gonav betovach umochal pi eid echad. Let's say the entire story would be only by 1 eid. 1 eid came and told us the whole tall tale. It's not a tall tale, it's true. He told us he stole, and he shechted. Oyal pi atzmoi. That's what you should underline with in red. Al pi atzmoi, the person himself told us the entire confession. Oshamnu until tiatonu. The whole confession. That's a higher level confession. That's a higher level of vidui. Why? Of hoidah. Because he's mechayiv himself on keren. He's the one who's incriminating himself, saying that he has to pay keren. Then Rav comes in full color and says, then we don't say that he is like eid echad, meaning we don't say that if eidim will come tomorrow, they'll be mechayivim. No, if his confession is top 5-star confession that actually makes him pay something, the hoidah is really a hoidah that makes him fork out money. That's a real man. In such a case, we say that even if eidim came tomorrow and they said that he shechted, he'd still be potur Rav, and that's exactly Rav. Good. And we see it from our Mishnah. So we see that tzimtzum that we said in Rav is in our Mishnah. Okay? We'll see the Brisa. And the Brisa says very similar things to our Mishnah. Then we'll summarize. After we see the Mishnah, we saw the Mishnah, we'll see the Brisa. Sorry. And we are going to be just fine in Mirz Hashem. Then we have another case. Okay. Brisa. We are 4 lines before the end of the narrow lines. Ein Hey Amud Beis Bava Kama. Brisa. What does the Brisa say? Look at the Brisa, which we actually saw yesterday, Tanya, or a very similar Brisa. Ra eidim shemimash meshinu boi. The person was accused in Beis Din for theft. There were no eidim yet. He's coming and he's now standing there in front of eidim, being accused of theft. And he saw the memash meshimu boim. He saw the witnesses memash meshuba is like as they're about to come. They're coming along. He saw the two people, which eventually we know did testify. His face goes white, blue, black, red, and purple, and he's like, "Oh my gosh!" He saw the eidim coming to incriminate him. The Omar, and he quickly said, "Ganavti, I stole. I stole. Ganavti, I stole. I admit I stole. Aval lo tovachti v'lo mecharti, but I was not toveach and not moicher. I did not. I didn't go. I didn't do the second offense. I did not shecht. I did not sell. I only stole." What do we say? We still say, Ein Shalom Ela Keren. We still say that although he may have not exactly the most ulterior motive, he wasn't a nice guy, he was scared of the eidim, but Rav doesn't care about that. Rav, if you remember from yesterday's year, Rav, according to Bava Kama of the Brisa we saw yesterday, Rav says, no, at the end of the day, he's a do, he's a do. So even if we think that he doesn't have the good motives, but he admitted, so still he only has to pay the keren. Upon his own oido, he pays the keren, but he does not pay the kefel. And he doesn't pay 4 and 5. Why doesn't he pay 4 and 5? Even if the eidim come and tell us that he actually stole and he also shechted, he still doesn't pay 4 and 5. Why? Because if he doesn't pay kefel he doesn't pay. Because kefel he admitted. He admitted, I stole. So if he stole and he said, I stole, he admitted to it, carefully doesn't pay. But what about the shechting? In the shechting, he was not a good guy. In the shechting, he was against the eidim. And the eidim told us that he shechted. What did we say yesterday? If there's no first floor, there's no second floor. Last time I checked, I'm not an architect, but you can't build a second floor in the air. So if you don't have kefil, there's no Bava Kamisha. Bava Kamisha is only a top of a payment of kefil. Whoever doesn't pay kefil, for whichever reason, whoever doesn't pay kefil does not pay the 4 and 5, because really there is no 4 and 5. 4 and 5 are 2 plus 2 or 2 plus 3. It's not 2 plus 4 or 2 plus 5. It's not 7. 2 plus 2 is 4. 2 plus 3 is 5. And therefore, if there's no 2, there's no 4 or 5. However, at this point, what I just told you is true, and we saw it before, but it's not the point right now. I'm just telling it to you now, so remember it for later. For the Gemara now, in order to get something from this brisa, to try and be medayek from the brisa, we are deducting the following. Why do we have to say, why do we have to portray a case in which he said ganavti, he admitted the theft, why do you have to say that he dafka denied the tvicha mechira? Nitni, we should say ganavti, tavachti, umachati. Why can't we say that he also admitted the tvicha mechira? Yeah, in other words, why don't we say Pashut case, he stole, Tovech, he admitted everything. So even though he saw the eidim coming and he's scared of them, he's still Patu. That's also Chiddush. Why do you have to say that he said Lo Tovachti? Why do you have to say that he fights against the eidim at the end? Say a case in which he's Patu from everything. At the end of the day, it'll be the same halacha. That he's Patu, he only has to pay Keren, it doesn't pay anything else, right? I stole, I was tovech, he pays Keren. Why do you have to tell me a case that he says that he denies the tvicha? Ela Kamash Malan, you know why? I know why. I'll tell you why. Kamash Malan, the bride is coming to tell me that what? Time the Omar Gonavti. Yeah? Sorry. Yeah. Time the Omar Gonavti, only because it says Gonavti, the Chiev Atzmoy, the Keren. Yeah? That only because he says Gonavti, and because the saying Gonavti is a confession which is real, very good confession, because he makes himself pay. He makes himself pay the Keren, which means his own confession also makes him pay something. It's also a bit to his detriment. That's a super high class oido, the potu. Then his potu, he only pays Keren, even though the eidim came later. like Rav. Aval Omar loy gonavti. Let's say he said, I did not steal. Let's say he said, no, I didn't steal. Ubo eidim shagonav, and then the eidim said, yes, you did steal, I'm sorry. They're confronting him, and he's against the eidim. So he came out to be a liar and a thief. And now, the chozov Omar, tovachti umocharti. Now, let's say he would only say, tovachti umocharti. By the way, I'm sorry, the way I explained the question was exactly right. The question was, you should say, Oi gonavti, oi tovachti umocharti. I got confused with the girsa. Now, why don't you say a case that he says that we know that he stole, and the only confession is tvicha mechira. Ubo eidim shetovach umochar. Now eidim came and they contradict him regarding the tvicha mechira. Sorry, they don't contradict him. I mean to say he says tovachti, and then eidim also said after him, yeah, you're a toveach. So basically there was confession and afterwards eidim. That's also yeah. The lochiev atzmoi bekeren. Lamaisa, this is the class B hoidah. If we know that he already stole because eidim told us. And the only issue here of his hoidah is he comes and he cries and says, I shechted. When a person says, I shechted, he's not mechayv himself anything. His hoidah makes him pay 0. Then when eidim come later, chayev. If eidim come and say later, I'm sorry I said contradicted, they don't contradict him. They support him, but it's not for his good. We have another source of information, eidim, it'd be chayev. Why? No, it's only if your hoidah is a good hoidah that makes you pay something. You're a man, you're incriminating yourself. But if the person only gives the hoidah over something that's not mechayevim, I shechted and I sold, which means really I'm potter, then if eidim come later, chayev, you still have to pay if the eidim come. When the eidim come, you'll have to pay. The eidim will override him. Alma, that is to say, hoidah de tvicha, lav hoidoi. That is to tell me, hoidah of tvicha, if a person confessed and admitted tvicha shechting, because shechting, if we knew already is a ganav, and the only hoidah is I shechted, lav hoidoi, that's not a real confession, because you only make yourself be potter, right? So maybe here too we have a proof to the same idea that we saw at the end of the previous Amud of Amud Aleph, yeah, in Ainei Amud Aleph, that hoidah, class B hoidah, is not worth, I wouldn't say not worth anything, but if eidim came later, you'd have to pay like the eidim. No, we have a good proof. Says the Gemara, no, here it's not a good proof. Why? Like, here we have another solution. I'm not saying Rabbi Yochanan is wrong, but this brisa does not necessarily come to support Rabbi Yochanan with his idea of class B hoidah. Why? Now you'll appreciate what I told you before. He gufa kamash malan. It's coming to tell me something more intrinsic in the guf, in the body of the halacha. The kema do amar gonavti. Since the person said gonavti, we portrayed a very funny case when he admitted I stole, but he denied the shchita. Why? I'll tell you why. Kevin amar gonavti, because he said that he stole. Afal gav do amar loy tovachti veloy mocharti ubo eidim shetovachu mochar. Boom. Even though he says, I did not shecht, and eidim came and said, you liar shechted. Who do we believe? Of course we believe the eidim who said that he shechted, and he said, I didn't shecht. I would say, let him pay the extra 4-5, the extra 2-3, the extra money for the shchita. Still is potur. Why is it potur? Why? My timer. Why? Why doesn't he pay for the extra 2 or 3 to make it up to 4-5 of the shchita? Mele the 2, the double, the original 2 of Keren and Kefel, he admitted. Okay, we'll forgive him, and he doesn't pay kefil, but let him pay the extra 2 or 3. Says the Gemara, no, like I told you a few minutes ago. Teshlumei chamisha omer rachmano, teshlumei arbo b'chamisha rachmano, v'lo teshlumei arbo, v'lo teshlumei shloisha, which means there is no such thing in halacha of paying, you only pay 4 and 5. You either pay 4 or 5, or you pay nothing, only 1. There's no such thing of not paying kefil, and yes, paying for the shchita, the extra 2 or extra 3. There's no extra if there's no basis. The whole idea of tzvicha mechira, as we said before, remember Yitzchak, we said, ishkarish bechet. Instead of doing tshuva, right, he's actually digging deeper into the chet. Return the sneh, return the ox quickly. No, he's doing worse. He's selling it on. He's shechting. That's the idea. So if the person, the Lamaisa, doesn't pay double because he confessed, even though we know that he stole, because he confessed, and we know that he shechted, he doesn't pay any knas. He doesn't pay double because he confessed. It's vidui. Moide b'knas, classical moide b'knas. Elamai, what do you want to say? You want to say that regarding the tvicha mechira, he lied. He says, I didn't shecht, and the eidim came and said, yes, you shechted, 2 against 1. He still doesn't pay. Nothing to do with the idea of this oidah, that oidah. It's simple math. Bava Kama means it's a whole package deal, 4 or 5, not 2 or 3, only 4 and 5. Ad kan, this is what we're saying now. This is the regarding the knas. I said like this, I'm repeating, online. When a person stole, he has to pay kefil. And if he later on shechted a sheep, he has to pay how much? Extra 2. On top of these 2, another 2. If he shechted a cow, he has to pay an extra 3. Extra means that's 2 or 3 on top of the original 2. But let's say the person doesn't pay the double. Why doesn't he pay the double? Because he was moideh. He came to Beis Din, big tears in his eyes, camera flashing. He wants to make a whole show. And he's telling us, I stole. I'm sorry I stole. It's my fault. He saw the eidim coming, didn't see the eidim coming. Rav doesn't care. So then he doesn't pay the kefil. Why doesn't he pay the kefil? Why do we knas potu? We give him the special dispensation that doesn't have to pay kefil. Let's say later he came out lying regarding the shechting, yeah? Because he said, I didn't shecht, and eidim said, yes, Mr. Honeycomb, you did shecht, and we believe them. So maybe he should pay for the shechita. At least that he should pay. He's a liar. Yes, he's a liar. No shidduch from my daughter, that's for sure. But he doesn't pay anything. Now, I mean, except for the keren, the capital doesn't pay anything. Why? Because there's 2 of the shechita are on top of the 2 of the kefil. So if for any legalese reason he doesn't pay the original 2, he doesn't pay the other 2 either. If you don't pay 2 for the kefil for the actual theft, you don't pay the extra 2 or 3 for the shechita or mechira. That's why it goes. Because it's a package deal, 4 and 5. The Torah doesn't say pay extra 2 or extra 3. It's all one mush, one thing. If you don't pay kefil, you don't pay the other payment either.
Rabbi, can I ask a question?
Yes, you can. I'd actually like to bring the whiteboard, but meanwhile, please ask your question. Okay. Says the Gemara, we did not finish the topic yet. Leima ketanoi. Let us say that issue that we just mentioned, what did we just say? Again, let's repeat, revise, review. Leima ketanoi. What did we say before? If a person confessed in Beis Din and he said, I stole, that is the top kind of eidah, because he's really causing himself to pay something because of his eidah. Because of that, he has to pay keren. And then he's potter from kefil, doesn't pay kefil. If later on 2 eidim come and say, you stole, we say, so what? Rav is on my side. And he said, if I confess, even though eidim came later, I don't have to pay anything. Moide b'knas, achar kach ba'u eidim, remains exempt, potter. However, if all he confessed was on the shechting, yeah, he confessed on the shechting, he did not confess on the theft. We knew about the theft already. You're not telling us anything new. He only confessed on the tvicha mechira. That confession is a class B confession. It's a confession. It's a hoidah. It's not so good. It's not making yourself pay anything. You're just going to be scot-free. So then if eidim came later and told us that you shechted, you will have to pay. Leima ketanoi. Let us say that point exactly is a machlokes tanoim. Whether class B hoidah makes you pay if eidim came or eidim came later won't make you pay, that itself, it looks like an issue of disagreement between tanoim. Let's see the case, which is a little bit longish, but it's not so difficult. Let's say 2 people were made that somebody stole. 2 eidim came, and he said that he stole. Okay. And 2 people were made, yeah, that is tovach umochar, that he also stole. Yeah. Just want to look up something here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, good. 2 people told Beis Din that so and so stole. Okay. Other eidim came and they said, look, he also, Bava Kama, after that Sunday when he stole, came Monday, and on Monday he shechted. And then the next par of eidim came. So these are the first groups. Came the second group, Huzmu Eidei Gneva. The Eidei Gneva were Muzam. The original eidim, let's call them Reuven and Shimon, they said that he stole. Okay. And those Reuven and Shimon, a few weeks later, Levi and Yehuda come to Beis Din and they say, you, the Eidei Gneva, those of you, the two of you who said that he stole, well, you guys were with us in Kiryat Sefer, the time when you claim there was a Gneva. So now, Eidu Shabbat Miktoso, Botlo Kula. Now, of course, he doesn't have to pay anything. He's off the hook. Because why? His eidim were proven to be, eidim against him, proven to be wrong. Maybe he has to pay for the Tvicho Mechira. Because Tvicho Mechira, there were no eidim that came and denied and refuted the Tvicho Mechira. But we always say there's no first floor, there's no second floor. If he didn't steal, then the shechting is irrelevant. Eidus botla miktoso botla kula. If the eidus is partially off, then the whole eidus is off. There's no half eidus and there's no half stealing. If he didn't steal, and apparently he didn't. Why? Why? Because they were muzam. His eidim are liars. They were in Kiryat Sefer. They're not in Bet Shemesh. And therefore, even though the second part of regarding the shechita still remained intact, there's no intact. There's no second floor without first floor. Imein gneva and tvicho mechira. Okay, and then what happened next? Slowly. Huzmu edei tvicha. Then the edei tvicha now is another case. Sorry, huzmu edei tvicha. Let's say now there was another case. You okay? Yeah. Let's say huzmu edei tvicha. The edei tvicha were muzam. Let's say the Eidei Gneva remained okay, and only the Eidei Tvicha, they are the ones who are Muzam. Again, we have now a second case, a separate case. The original case remains the same. Two eidim said he stole, two eidim said that he Bava Kama. In the first case, the ones who are off the chart, off the chessboard, are the Eidei Gneva. Then there's no non-starter. Doesn't have to pay anything. However, Huzmu Eidei Tvicha, let's say, is a different case now. The new chapter is a different case. Only the Eidei Tvicha that said that he shechted, they were proven to be wrong and zoimimim, and the Gneva still remains true. The Gneva was not refuted. We still assume, highly assume, in Paskin that he stole. Only the second part of the Tvicha, that was deleted. Then what's the halacha? Very good. Who meshalam tishlume kefal? The Ganav himself has to pay kefal to the owner, because the Eidei Gneva who said that he has to pay kefal, they remain alive and kicking and talking. They're just there. Tishlume kefal. So he has to pay kefal because he was witness. There was witnesses against him. The hen, however, the other eidim that came out to be liars, meshalmin tishlume shloisha. The second group of eidim who said he shechted, and then he said, you guys said shechted. You were with us in Kiryat Sefer when you claim he shechted. So you guys are zomemim. You have to pay shloisha. You have to pay 3 to who? To the ganev, because you wanted the ganev to lose 3, extra 3. Let's say it was a show, it was a bull, so it's an extra 3. Extra 3 on top of the 2. You wanted him to pay. You pay him. Also, so far, it's actually easy and good. Question? That's very simple fact so far. I would say it's even hardly a chiddush. Here comes a very, very funny thing. Mishum sumchus omru, comes sumchus, and the Tanoim quoting sumchus to be saying, and sumchus says the follows: Hey mishalmim tashlume kefel, they pay double. The hu mishalm tashlume shlosh lapam v'shnayim lai. The eidim pay kefel, and he has to pay 3 or 2. That statement of Sumchus is very difficult. Sumchus basically says the opposite of Chachomim. Sumchus says that the eidim pay kefel, and the ed has to pay the 2 or 3, the extra 2 or 3. Ahayakai Sumchus. On which part of the Brisa the Sumchus, where do we pin Sumchus's words to? Yeah, the pin to the lavdil to the donkey. Where are the words of Sumchus applying to? Ilema Reisha. Does Sumchus talk about the Reisha? Is Sumchus suggesting to me that they pay kefal? What happened in the Reisha? Remember, in the Reisha, Sumchus would have made sense. Why? In the Reisha, the eidim, the first ones about the Gneva came out to be false, liars. So maybe Sumchus is saying they should pay kefal, okay, and then he pays 3. Why does he pay 3? Because Lamaisa, the Tvicho Mechira eidim were not refuted. So maybe now he has to pay 3. Says the Gemara, no, that could be more or less okay, but Leisla the Sumchus, doesn't Sumchus know? Doesn't he believe? It's true that he should have paid 3, because why? Because the eidim of the 3, meaning the eidim of the Tvicha, were not rejected. But he can't pay 3 if there's no 2. Since the edus of the beginning of the story of the Gneva is off the charts, is off the radar, because they were muzam, so he's not a thief, Papitom should pay 3. A person is not known to be a thief, pays 3. I shechted my own cow. There is no first floor, there's no second floor. The Ela must be what? Sumchus must be talking. Let's try and cut and paste Sumchus to the Seifa. What's the case in the Seifa? The Seifa was the opposite. The ones that were muzam were only on the shchita, and the eidim of the gneva remained good. Then Sumchus does not begin to make sense. Shapir kami rabbanon. What's shapir? Good, nice, beautiful. Rabbanon makes sense. Hu meshalem tashlumei kefel, because the eidim gneva remained in full force. They were not muzam. They were not refuted. So he remains a ganav. He remains under the testimony. He should jolly well pay kefel. And those liars, the second group who said that he shechted, and they came out to be the liars. The second group of shchita, they're the liars, they're the zoimimim. They should pay 3. That's what we learned in school. The zoimim does to the victim what he wanted to do. To the victim, he now has to pay himself. So Sumchus is extremely hard to understand. Must be, this is one of the many brises in Shas, that the brisa is talking about a whole different, is missing a piece over here. We're missing a piece of the brisa. Ela milta achrisi ika beinayu. There must be another milta, another issue, another point here. Achriti, a different one. Ika beinayu. Between Sumchus and Rabbanon must be, there is another case, and now that case will be portrayed. A whole new case over here. Don't worry, it's a whole new case. And now Sumchus's line, Sumchus's seemingly strange sentence, now will make sense. Like we open a new document and we paste Sumchus's words to this new statement. Kegoin, listen to the following story. Kegoin, the Asu Beitrei, 2 people came and they told the Ganav, Amri Lei, they told the Ganav, Ganavta. And he said, they told him, Ganavta, you stole, mister, you stole. Amalu, and he told them, in true, Gonavti, true that I stole, ve tovachti u mocharti, and I also, you know what? Not only I stole, I also did tvicho mechira. Now, Rashi points out, when eidim tell a person you stole, and he said I stole, it's nothing, because everybody agrees. By the way, I hope you know that if eidim already incriminated the person and then he was moider, that's nothing. Except for korban, he may have to bring korban, which is machlokes, but of course his adah doesn't get him off the hook, because the first piece of information came from, the first ones to tell us the information are the eidim. So if eidim says, you stole, and he said, yes, I did, that bears very, very little weight. However, he does give hoidah of tvicha mechira. Oh, that could be hoidah. So now basically, let's build a case nice and slow cooker, tomorrow's Shabbos. We have a case in which the gneva is not a hoidah. The eidim confronted him, and they spoke before him. Now that he says gonafti is like a joke. But regarding the tvicha mechira, is hoidah. They did not speak about it at all. And actually, those 2 eidim never said he was toveach. So he's not scared of them. He himself came like a man, and he said, yes, I admit, I shechted and I sold. Mihu, but he keeps talking, Mr. Ganev, lo bifnechem ganafti. I did not steal in front of you. He still claims that they're liars. I did not steal in front of you people. There's no hoidah regarding them seeing him. He never admitted that they saw him. He admitted that he stole, yeah, which doesn't mean much. He admitted he was tovech u'moicher, means a lot, because that's only his own idea. Nobody told him to say that. And then he said what? It was not in front of you. End of first part. Ba'ite Sahadi. Here came another group of eidim, Vazminhu, and really they were mazim, the first ones, the lo ba'apayu gonav. The first group, yeah, interesting. The first group, he claims, originally, what did the Ganav say? It's true that I stole, but I didn't steal in Sunday, like you said. I didn't steal in Cheshvan. I stole in Kislev. And you know what? Other eidim, mezimim, a second group of eidim came, and they said, you know, the Ganav is right. He's a Ganav, but he's right. It did not take place in Cheshvan like they're saying. In Cheshvan, they were with us in yeshiva the whole month. They did not see it. Okay. So really, the first group of eidim regarding the Gneva are now muzam. And he has hoido. Remember, he's moide the tzvicho mechira, but regarding the Gneva, those eidim were muzam already. They're lying about the Gneva. It's true that he stole, but they're lying about his theft mitzidam. Now comes the third group. It's a bit of a chad gadya. The Aisi Balabai Sahadi, third chapter. Now came the Balabais, and he brought eidim that are made that he stole v'tovachu mochal. A third group came and says what? He did everything. They talk about the Ganav, the third group, and they said the whole shebang. We saw him doing everything, and they're not muzam. They are the winners. They are the end of the story. The end of the end of the end is really those third group. That pair is right. Higona v'tovachu mochal. So what's the story going on over here? What's going on over here? The issue is like this. The question is, how do we treat the hoidah of the tvicha? If we siphon 2 points from this whole story, yeah, originally in the first chapter, what did the guy say? Stealing, I admit that I stole, but not in front of you. And I admit that I shechted. I admit that I shechted. However, later on, eidim came, the third group of eidim came, and they said, you shechted. That's very, very much our case. A person admitted tvicha, right? And then eidim came and said tvicha. The argument between Rabbanan and Sumchus, which we're now going to revisit and re-explain, hoidos tvicha, that is the machloikes. The Rabbanan Savri, Rabbanan think, afal gav doido de gneva machmas eidim hu deka moidem. The door of the gneva is worth 0. The eidim already said it. He's not even scared of the eidim. The eidim spoke. It's true that those eidim came out to be liars at the end, but Lamaisa, when they spoke, at that point, they didn't believe them. They were good eidim back then, or so we thought. And now, the eidim is nisht. But, hoido de tvicha, hoidoi, upotu. Oh, the door of the tvicha, nobody spoke about the tvicha. The tvicha was his own idea altogether. He didn't have to say anything about tvicha. And even though eidim came later, the third group came and said, yeah, we saw you shechting. So that's a classical case of moide beknas, v'achar kach ba'u eidim. Still, Chachamim say, potu, even though the original hoidah is a class B hoidah. Even though the original hoidah is not a hoidah that incriminates him. Incrimination, he's already at fault from gneva from the other eidim. The fact that he says, I moida on shchita alone is a very low class hoidah. It's not mechayvim anything. And still Chachamim say, potu. Even though eidim came later and said, you shechted your potter, unlike everything we said. Chachamim are now against everything we've been talking about the whole day today. Now at least Sumchus says a good line. Sumchus' line now makes sense, and he says, Sumchus says, Kevan doido de gneva machmas eidim hu deka moide. Because the doido of the gneva is doido because of the eidim. In other words, it's not really called doido after the eidim already spoke in Beis Din. Thank you very much. Now remember to be moide. That's cute. The tvicha la doido. Then mimela the tvicha is nish doido. his tvicha alone is not incriminating him, is not obligating him. It's only hoidah that makes him look good and doesn't have to pay anything. Okay, if eidim come later, those eidim, yeah, will be right if they came and said that he stole, that he shechted, excuse me, and then he would have to pay the 4 and 5. Now we just explained Sumchus's line. The Hanach. Now, what did Sumchus say? Sumchus said that line, which we found to be very strange. What did Sumchus say? That they pay kefil and he pays shloisho. What does it mean? Says the Gemara like this: The Hanach eidim kamoi dazminu mishalmin tishlomei kefil. Now Sumchus' line is actually a very good line. Remember, there was a story regarding the first eidim of the Gneva that they were muzam, right? It's true that he stole. We know that he stole, but on their edus was fault. They said that he stole in Cheshvan, really was Kislev, because there were mezimim. Last time I checked, edim zoimimim have to pay kefil. So they pay kefil to who? To the Ganev, and the Ganev pays kefil to the owner. That's cool. Why? They pay kefil to the Ganev because doch there was zoimimim. There was zoimimim. He stole, none of your business. You lied. You lied and you said he stole in Cheshvan. He's a liar and a Ganev. That's none of your business. You were made edus shekel of hazama, you pay kefil. Chutz mizeh, he also has to pay kefil to the bailim because lemaisa it's true that he stole. Why does he have to pay shloisha? Why does he have to pay for the tvicha mechira? Because Sumchus is our man. Sumchus is the one who does believe everything we've been saying so far b'shem Rabbi Yochanan and b'shem Rav Imnuna. Sumchus says because he's hoidah, he's a class B hoidah. He was moide on shchita only. His adon gneva is a joke. The adon shchita, which is the only real hoidah, is only moide without any obligation. Yeah, all fun, no work. And mimel is such hoidah. If eidim came later and they did, and eidim said you shechted, he has to pay for the shechting. So he has to pay 5. He pays because he stole, and we know he stole from eidim, real eidim at the end. And he also shechted, and the eidim told us that he shechted. He was moida. That's nice. He was moida. That's really nice and praiseworthy. And we can write him a good Midos card in school. But lemaisa, this hoidah, if the eidim came later and they said that he shechted, he has to pay. As opposed to Chachamim who say no. The Chachamim say no. His hoidah of shchita is a good hoidah. And if the eidim came later and said that he shechted, he's still off the hook. Meaning Chachamim do not believe everything that was said till now. That's what we want to say. We want to try and connect between our machloekes and the machloekes of Sumchus and Chachamim. Questions for now? Or no? Yes, Jeffrey. I said that? I'm sorry. I meant he stole from, not the eidim, of course. He stole from the owner. He stole from the owner. Okay, answers the Gemara. The Gemara now wants to reject it. The Gemara wants to say, Loi, we're not going to go into it today. I'll just give you a taste of it. Says the Gemara, no, I don't think that the argument is about the idea of whether that hoidah of only shchita is a good hoidah or not a good hoidah. The kula alma, now we want everyone to side with what we've been saying till now. The kula alma hoidah the tvicha lav hoidah. Conceptually, if a person, a regular hoidah of tvicha, a regular hoidah, regular story of hoidah without gneva, which means we know that he's a ganev because the eidim said so, okay. Or he's moide, but he's moide because the eidim already spoke. And now the only real hoidah is tvicha, is not a good hoidah. What does it mean not a good hoidah? If eidim come later and said that he shechted, he'd have to pay. Ela. So what is the argument between Chachamim and Sumchus? The eidus she'iata yochel azima kamiflagi. Oh, the argument is going to be different, and that is it for today. I'm not going to continue today, but I'm sorry, we're going 5 minutes short. We're going to see on Sunday that the machloekes between Sumchus and Chachamim is regarding a different inyan, a different story. We have an inyan of eidus she'iata yochel azima. I'll just give you an introduction. There is a concept called eidus she'iata yochel azima is not an eidus. Any eidus that from some technical reason the edus cannot be potentially muzam. Let's say there's an edus that nobody in the world can actually disprove and say imanu ha'isem. We're going to see example next week, okay? Such an edus is not an edus. Even if the edus seems to be nice and good and flowing and nobody was mazim, that edus alone cannot be considered a good edus. However, the Gemara wants to say that this itself is a machlokes between chachomim and sumchus. And that we'll see Meretz Hashem next week. I'm going to use the next few minutes either for questions or for summary. Let's summarize. Let's build the whole building again before we continue next week, even though next week is going to be, I think, a bit easier. Basically, the story is like this. Everybody knows that Moide B'Knas, yeah, you can participate if you want in the Sikum. Everybody agrees that Moide B'Knas Potu. What does that mean? If a person came to Beis Din and he said, I did so and so, I did by the way, besides the summary, I'm going to give you now a very, very, very nice chat Mechavrusa told me about the opinion of Shmuel, and that's an answer to Baruch's question from yesterday. Everybody knows that Moide B'Knas Potu. We saw a source for that. Yarshiun Elohim v'lo yarshei atzmoi. If a person is marshia himself, a person incriminates himself. When it comes to money, if I said I owe you $1,000, I owe you $1,000. By knas, it's the other way. My hoidah means I don't have to pay because I confessed I don't have to pay the knas. Off the hook. Good, very nice. Yofi. Now, moide b'knas v'achar kach ba'u eidim. A person was moide by his own accord. Let's say he wasn't even fearful of anybody. He came and he confessed that he did something of knas. Bicho mechira. Okay, let's say gneva. We're going to see different cases. And then eidim came. Later on, eidim came and said he did it. What he said he did, we saw he did it. So first it was confession, there was hoidah, there was admittance, and then there was the eidim. That's machlokes Rav Shmuel. We seem to be following Rav here all along, but there's also the opinion of Shmuel. Rav says that in certain cases, not always, in certain cases, we see that if he was moide and then eidim came, he remains potu. He's still a good boy, right? We just wanted to say today, that if the oidah is not a very valuable oidah, it's oidah that only makes him go off the hook and not oidah that makes him pay something, that the eidim are, then he'd have to pay if eidim come. That was the message of today. But I'm going to yesterday. What did Shmuel say? Shmuel said, moide b'knas, and then eidim came, he's chayev. Oh. Baruch Rins asked the question yesterday. Why do you say that if a person confessed and it wasn't scared of anybody, he came clean hands, came clean, and said, I admitted did it, and we seem to be trying to accommodate to such a person, and eidim came a week later, now we're turning it over, and we're saying he has to pay. Why does he have to pay? Still a good man. The Chavrusa answered a very, very beautiful answer, Rav Reuben Berman, and he said as follows. Really, when we say moide b'knas potu, it's not a good behavior prize. No. The idea is pashut, that according to Shmuel, usually if I say in front of two eidim seriously, I owe Yitzchak Reichenberg $1 million. I'm sorry, I don't have that yet. He's extending his hand. I tell him I owe you $1 million, then I owe you $1 million. If I really seriously said that in front of eidim in a serious tone, not misachik b'cho, like in Bava Basra, I'm seriously saying I owe you $1 million. You can take me to Beis Din with eidim and demand $1 million. And I can't say, it was only me talking. No. When it comes to money, a person may, yes, mechayiv himself and, so to speak, incriminate himself. Moide b'knas doesn't mean that his potu is always potu. Moide b'knas means that we reached a zero level where we don't say hoidos baldin k'meidim dami. We don't say that his hoidah, we don't say that his confession, his hoidah is mechayivim. So it's not mechayiv. It's as if he never spoke. In other words, it's a power situation. We don't say, I owe you $1 million, therefore I owe you. We say, when I say I stole your sheep, then we're in a standstill. We say, okay, we don't make you pay the kefal. But it's not that we have to not make you. If two eidim come and say that the person stole, of course he has to pay. Because it's as if there's no information. It's as if we ignore what he said. That's how Shmuel looks at it. If eidim came, they gave us the information. If they give the information, of course he has to pay. It's not a good behavior prize. It's Tom ignoring his words. Ignoring his words is we never heard them. Now come the eidim and they said he stole and he shechted and he poked the Eved's eye. Of course he has to pay. That's Shmuel. Beautiful shot. Thank you very much. Have a good Shabbos. Hatzlacha uvrocha and mazel tov to all of us, including Zoom. Refuah Shleima. Everyone should be here next week. Thank you. Shkeich. Otzum.